right? Isn't that your title, a marketing director?
Community marketing director.
Yeah.
Out of the Chamber of Commerce. What a blessing. I mean, that's an honor, really.
You get to market a pretty terrific community.
Pretty awesome community all the way around.
Your hometown.
My hometown, and just a wide variety of good things that go on here. You know, not the least of which, we're just going to touch on this really briefly.
Oh.
Because it's still heavy on a lot of people's minds. And when I came in here, some of the greetings with people I haven't seen since the holidays, of course, included some thoughts about the tragedy that took place at our office.
Yeah.
And this is my personal reach out to everybody in this community who's shown our support with love and prayers and things that show up at the office. And I don't think you could ever bring enough joy to overcome the grief, but I'll tell you what, it's mounting and it makes a huge difference. So thank you, everybody. Every prayer, every little, I call them bits of love that have been extended our way, have really had a huge impact on our entire office and organization. And thank you, everyone, including you, Gordy.
Yeah, well, we can't even imagine what you're going through, you know. As I said to you before we hit the airwaves, I mean, you spent probably as much time with Barb as anybody, even her family now, with her throwing, you know, kids away from home. She probably spent more time with her coworkers.
It's the way it is. In our environment, the work that we do out of the chamber, you know, it's intimate environment with helping people, you know, calls and stop-ins, and if they're members or if they're visitors or if they're people that just want to find information about anything in town. It's all about helping people and being friendly and being kind. And when you work in that environment every day, those people you work with, you become pretty close. And so I don't know. I think that's a blessing. It just makes it harder when something happens. I'll just leave it at that.
It was so sad. And on Friday, just so we can educate people a little more, Rice County Attorney John Fossum will be here, and we're going to talk about restraining orders and orders for protection. I know I visited with Paul Bowmaster about that in the past, but I don't think we've touched base with Mr. Fossum on it yet. There are differences between the two, and we're going to touch on that, educate people about that.
I think education's so important. Understanding everything that you can gives you the best tools to do the best job you can if you are in a situation of crisis of some sort. So pay attention, learn what you can, and keep the love. Keep the love.
So Steele County fundraiser is the topic tomorrow. Jerry will be hosting the show. I'll be on my way back from Moorhead.
Okay, very good.
We've got Carlton, Concordia doubleheader tonight. Our coverage beginning at 5:30. By the way, a snow emergency has been declared for Thursday by the city of Faribault.
All right, so
no parking on city streets from 1 in the morning till 8 in the morning. Vehicles left unattended may be ticketed and towed.
All right, so get them off the street on Thursday. Very good.
1 a.m. to 8 a.m. Just
Very
wanted to
good.
pass along that note.
So
we touched on the parking study
we
before
did, yeah, and it's
still in the planning stage.
Yeah, and it's a good problem to have. Okay, we've got traffic downtown. We have people coming downtown, and we want to make sure that everything that can reasonably be done to open up spots for visitors and guests downtown, which would logically indicate that during the daytime hours we'd want to have as many non-guests that are downtown, non-guest or visitor or shopper vehicles not on the street parking, right? So, and I think that's probably going to be one of the topics as well. Do we need to make sure we're doing everything we can that residents and staff members and business owners are finding off-street parking in the public lots or behind their buildings or wherever that may be, to ensure that we've got as many spots opened up as possible for our visitors and our guests, the ones that are adding to the economy downtown, the ones that are coming down, opening their wallets and getting their hair cut, talked about that earlier, getting your nails done, having some food, we've got some cool retail opportunities downtown, get the Paradise, all these things in downtown that people are coming down to enjoy and enrich the coffers of the downtown community. We want to make sure we've got as much space for them as possible. So it'll be a good committee. Dave
Is there a
Lombard with the
timeline
city
yet?
is. I know the first meeting's the end of this month, and part of that, again, we'll review previous studies, of which a lot of the technical data won't have to be repeated, just a little bit of updating. And I think that as much as anything, the conversation will be, conceptually, how do we meet this pressing need for more parking during business hours in the street parking in the downtown district. So some of the things that we're doing now, in fact, the design committee on Main Street is just finishing up a wayfinding signage project, and that will include signs. I think we ended up with 29 wayfinding signs in the downtown district that will include steering guests toward the public parking lots, of which there are several of them downtown for hundreds of parking spots available, public parking, that are all well within walking distance of our attractions and restaurants. So we want to make sure that people are able to find those lots and understand it's not just on-street parking. And that'll have some impact, we know that. And then, of course, with that wayfinding signage project, we're also pointing people to the new downtown visitor information stop. We have a kiosk. It's small right now. We'll expand it as the season gets closer and we get more material in the Paradise Center. And we have visitor info signs are on the marquee now. They're very, very tastefully done. Brushwork Signs did those for us. They look great. And again, the information inside is very pertinent for visitors. So good projects that the Main Street group is working on.
So when people come to town, they could be directed to this kiosk.
Correct.
So they don't have to stop out at the chamber.
Well, right. So if they're in the district, it's another agile way for them. And while that kiosk is not accessible in all of the hours that we would want, the additional hours that they're open, weekends, when they have productions, they're open, and they're open Thursday nights, for example. But they're not open any mornings. But the chamber is still the main visitor center, and we get a lot of people in, looking for information about. They're looking for the woolen mills. They're looking for the historic district. Someplace to eat is a big one. It's always a big one for people. Where should I eat while I'm in town? So both of those info centers are open and available.
Well, I can't get over how many buses stop at the Cathedral of Our Merciful Savior, just a couple blocks from there, too.
Isn't that something? Just yesterday, off of my desk, I handled 2 group tour requests. Got them informations. So we've got this laundry list of stops that are good for buses, and we have some restaurants. Not every restaurant can handle 50 people over a lunch hour, for example, but we have some in the downtown district that do that, and they do good jobs of that. So we forward that information to these operators and these church groups and senior groups that are wandering into town to partake in those things that we have to offer. The top of the list for requests are woolen mill tours, driving tours. We've got great architecture, and up on the in the Bluff district, we'll call it, up Minnesota State Academy, Shattuck, St. Mary's, Seabury Hall is worth a drive by for sure. They're just really neat architecture. And you mentioned the cathedral, and they do tours there. We'll make sure we get them information for that. The Paradise Center for the Arts downtown is a big one. There's always a gallery going on in there. The Cheese Cave right across the road tells the story. We can't get in the cheese caves themselves, the old flex caves.
I did get that tour when I first moved to town, though.
That's awesome.
They actually took me. That was awesome.
Yeah, they really had to tighten those up over the last few years, just federally regulated and what they can do. But they have got a pretty cool video and cheese tasting at the restaurant downtown, and I know Shelley and I enjoy getting in there for their product. But the visitors can come and watch the video, try some cheese, take some home with them.
There's nothing better than their raw cheese curds.
Oh boy, those are pretty tasty.
I'd take them over fried any day of the, in the fryer
Yeah,
any day of the week.
if you hit them just right and they've got a little bit of that squeak when you're munching on them,
Oh, yeah.
it's good stuff. So, and there's a list of other things that we forward to these operators. We help them try to define the best time of year. For example, if you want to catch Donahue's in full bloom, don't bring your tour in February or March.
Yeah,
They open their doors in April, and that's also a big request. People they bring a ton of people to town that are doing their gardening, and the tour buses hit that up as well. So that and a few other stops that they like to make. We forward all that information to the operators, help them define a schedule that fits what they want to do. Many of them are repeat trips. They'll say, last time we were here, we did the woolen mill 2 years ago, so we're okay with that, but we want to make sure we, get into the Paradise and we want to get into the cathedral.
So it sounds like the woolen mill's pretty open to tours. I mean,
They're open to tours. Give them a call or check their website for the schedules.
Okay.
Though they do have a regular schedule for them. They're pretty cool people down there, so they're somewhat flexible on the larger groups and things.
And they do have a store there.
And they have the store, you bet. Very well done store. So I'm not quite sure what got us to those folks on the tour thing when we were talking downtown. Where were we?
You've got some exciting news you wanted to inform us about, some sort of a retail challenge.
Oh boy, yeah, I better get on to that. We're running out of time already. So this is the Chamber of Commerce Mainstreet Committee, which is basically our downtown group. It's a group of volunteers, and I'm the staffer on the Mainstreet project. Our ER committee, that's Economic Restructuring Committee, is sponsoring what's called a retail challenge. It's modeled after a couple of other places that have already done it, and with some success. And the basic story is this, Gordy. If you have an interest in being an entrepreneur and starting a business, or maybe moving or expanding a business with a fresh idea, we're going to listen to those ideas, and we're going to take applications for 60 days during March and April for what will eventually be a winner that will receive a substantial startup package to start their business in downtown Faribault. The applicants will be judged first. Before they would become a finalist, you'd submit your idea in pretty basic format, a couple of paragraphs that says, hey, I want to start up whatever kind of shop it would be. This is the basic business model, and I'd like it to be in the downtown district of Faribault. So we'll score those initial ideas based on what their business is. We want to make sure it's a fit. We have a University of Minnesota analysis that shows where gaps in our product offering are. In other words, what could we add to the downtown business mix in Faribault that would enhance the entire district and help everybody out?
Do you have an example of a couple?
I would describe an artisan type of shop, which is something we've talked about. For example, let's just say it's an artisan candle making business, but we want it to be a viable business. So if they were making candles within the district, retailing those candles and some other sundries and maybe some active supplies so that people can also make their own candles, now all of a sudden we're meeting a few criteria. We've got something that people can do actively. We've got custom boutique product that people can buy. Now, if that business were to also have what I would have the backdoor business, in other words, fulfillment online, which helps make their business model more viable. They're selling on the internet across the world. Well, that could be a pretty viable business, something that's modest and can fit in a space downtown, but has a real solid chance to succeed as a business. A business of that nature would have a strong opportunity within the program. If your dream is some sort of a massage joint or whatever it might be, I don't want to limit it necessarily. But we also, so the ones that fit that criteria, fitting the business mix gaps that we want to fill, They'll get high points on that, and then it'll be the quality of their business idea, and the quality of the presentation that they would provide initially, how well is it put together. What we'll do is any of those, and we hope we get a bunch, any of those that score the highest. So let's say during the 60-day period we get 5 or 6 businesses that we know if they launched in downtown Faribault, they would have solid impact and a solid opportunity to succeed in the district. We'll take those businesses for a 45-day period. So anybody that advances into the finals, might be 1, I'm suspecting it'll be 5 or 6. And we're going to provide for them business counseling through the SBDC. We're going to provide any appropriate mentors for them, people that know the business that they want to start up and can give them some advice as they're crafting their final business plan. In other words, a well thought out business plan that includes estimates on financial performance, realistic estimates for visitors and sales, staffing costs, etc. And then from that, we'll have a group who will determine a champion, a winner in that. And they'll be awarded a substantial startup package. A package that will include advertising, marketing, some cash startup costs, some subsidies for possibly utilities, possibly for rent and other business startup costs to help them get down the line with their business idea. So this is happening. The Mainstreet ER group is launching that March 1st. So we're completing putting together the final details as far as how the business ideas will be scored. We're finalizing details for the winner's package, what that'll look like specifically, and putting together the judging committee, which will consist of those entities that are providing resource for the prize package, for example. So we're pretty excited about it. It's going to have impact. We know that it will.
Is it on your website, chamber website? Is that where I get the forms for this?
It will be. You'll hear about it before March 1st. The program outline will be shared around our circles, and it'll all be made public when we launch the program on 1st of March.
That is pretty exciting.
I think so. And kind of the beauty of it, Gordy, is I think we're going to get more than just one good idea. So just because a business doesn't necessarily win first prize in the prize package doesn't mean that we can't help them find a way to get their business up and going as well. So imagine if we happen to get 2 startups out of this, it'll be impactful. So we're excited about it. Our little mostly volunteer group with the modest budget is going to pull this off this year. Yeehaw.
That does sound like some exciting news there. That's good to know.
The program in Red Wing last year launched a bicycle shop, and bicycle and bicycle outfitter in their downtown.
Which we already have.
We already have that.
And have had for a number of years.
Right, and they do a great job. In fact, they borrowed us a bicycle for a photo shoot we did for the Visitor magazine this year, and you'll see that bicycle, the Mill City bike, in the
our new
Visitor
tilt-a-wheel car is going to be put in place, isn't it, this year?
That's my understanding, and it's Faribault green in color, I guess, a green-colored theme. I haven't seen it yet.
And where's that going?
I don't think it's official.
Oh, okay. They haven't chosen.
But it'll be on the opposite side of the downtown district than the one that sits in front of Burkittsmeyer Shoes. Certainly thanks again to that crew that did the work on that. I'm anxious to see it. People love getting their pictures taken in those.
I know. I can't believe the number of wedding parties I've seen over there.
You know, it's right. Well, sure, it's right across from Bernie's, you know, in the vintage ballroom there, where they have a lot of events. I attended an event that later last year, I guess it is 2017 now. And so that's sitting right across the street from there is pretty cool. We get a lot of PR for downtown by having that tilt-a-whirl car included in some pretty neat photos.
Yep, I know some people have their questions about it, but I see people taking selfies by it and everything. All
Oh,
the
sure.
time.
Sure, sure.
When the weather obviously is nice.
Yeah, they stash that thing for preservation purposes in the winter months, which is a good idea.
Yeah,
So,
good move. Absolutely. Well, I've only got 30 seconds, Nort, but thanks for stopping by. Certainly appreciate it.
always my pleasure. And if anybody has any upfront questions, give me a shout at the chamber, 334-4381. And my email address is on the chamber website.
All right. Thanks, Nort.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota on KDHL AM in Faribault, Minnesota.